Okay, we're back here with more Chapter 5 practice test for statistics. And number 9 says, experience has shown that a certain lie detector will show a positive reading 10% of the time when a person is telling the truth. That would be a false positive. And then it will show a positive reading 95% of the time if the person is lying. So suppose we have a random sample of 5 suspects and they're subjected to a lie detector test regarding a recent one-person crime. The probability of observing no positive readings if all the suspects plead innocent and telling the truth is. Now, there are plenty of ways to make this question really confusing. But the thing that makes this less confusing is that everyone is telling the truth. So if everyone's telling the truth, and we assume that each person is independent, then we just have to, well, since they are independent, then we just have to multiply all the probabilities together. The information tells us that the probability that the lie detector will be positive, given that the person is telling the truth, is 0.1% of the time. And we get a positive if the person's telling a lie 95% of the time. Well, we either know that the lie detector is going to be a positive or negative result, so we can really quickly figure out the probability of all of the negative results too. So if the person's telling the truth, then 90% of the time, or 0.9, the lie detector test will come out negative. And if the person's telling a lie, the lie detector will come out negative 0.05% of the time. So we want to know that's the probability of getting 5 negative readings if everyone's telling the truth. Since the readings are independent, the probability of getting a negative and 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 a negative, I think that was 5 times, that's equal to the probability of a negative multiplied by the probability of a negative multiplied by probability of a negative multiplied by probability of negative multiplied by probability of negative. Now we only have to worry about this one right here because they're all telling the truth. So the probability of getting a negative is going to be 0.9. 0.9 to the 5th power is 0.5905. So once we have to do a lot of people with the probability, with the lie detector test, then we see that the reliability for all 5 people at the same time kind of drops dramatically. I mean, 60% doesn't sound that high at all. So that's question 9. And the key to question 9 is to focus in on the details that are important here. The negative results and the positive result given that they're telling a lie is kind of extra information meant to throw you off the trail here. Okay, question 10 says, if you buy 1 ticket in the provincial lottery, then the probability that you'll win a prize is 0.11. If you buy 1 lottery ticket for each month for 5 months, what's the probability that you win at least 1 prize? And look at that phrase again. It's my phrase that you have to key in every time you see it. At least 1 prize. So the complement of that, and we're thinking already ahead, I'm already thinking that the complement of that is winning no prizes. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, I have to recognize that if the probability of a win is 0.11, then the probability of losing is 0.89. The next key is here, we have to believe that each month is independent. Maybe you have some kind of an argument that would say that winning and losing is not independent, but we have to believe that this is true if we want to figure out the probabilities here. Next, we have to deal with this winning at least 1 prize, and the complement of that is to win no prizes at all. So what we can do is figure out what's the probability that we lose for 5 consecutive months. So the probability that we lose, and then we lose, and then we lose, and then we lose, and then we lose is the same thing as the probability that we lose multiplied by the probability that we lose, multiplied by the probability that we lose, multiplied by the probability that we lose, and one more time. And the thing that allows us to do that is winning and losing is independent for each game. Now, we have all the probabilities, so we can just put them into our equation. We get 0.5584. So that's the probability of losing every time. Now, if you think about what is the complement of that, if you did not lose every time, that means you had to have won at least once. So the probability of winning at least once is equal to 1 minus the probability of losing 5 times. And that has to make sense to you. Either you win at least once, or you lost every time. Okay. Since we have these numbers, we can just substitute them in and get an answer. So we get a probability of 0.4416. There is a 44.16% chance that you're going to win at least one prize. And that does it for this video. That was questions 9 and 10 for the Statistics Chapter 5 practice test. We'll see you for more as we continue down this practice test.